Good morning, officers. On behalf of the Mayor and the Police Commissioner, I'd like to welcome you to the formal part of the hiring process, which would be your swearing-in ceremony. But before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to introduce members of the dais assembled with us this morning. To my right, the Commanding Officer of the Police Academy, Assistant Chief Teresa Shortell, the Commanding Officer, Patrol Borough Queens South, Assistant Chief Dave Barrera, Supervising Chief Surgeon, Dr. Eli Kleiman, Chief of Detectives, Robert Boyce, Chief of Housing, James Secreto, Chief of Transportation Bureau, Thomas Chan, Chief of Transit Bureau, Joseph Fox, Chief of Department, James O'Neill, the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, the Honorable William J. Bratton, the Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable Bill de Blasio, First Deputy Police Commissioner Benjamin Tucker, Deputy Commissioner for Training, Michael Julian, Deputy Commissioner for Public Information, Stephen Davis, Commanding Officer, Personnel Assistant Chief, Joseph McGran, Commanding Officer, Recruit Training Section, Deputy Chief, Samuel Wright, Commanding Officer, Applicant Processing Division, Deputy Chief, Eric Rodriguez, the Commanding Officer of the Medical Division, Inspector Brian McGinn, the Commanding Officer, Police Cadet Corps, Inspector Michael McGrath, PBA Rep, Police Officer Steve Wallace. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our dais. We thank them for being here. It's now my honor to introduce the Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable Bill de Blasio.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Before I talk about today's ceremony and what it means, I think we should spend a moment on this tragedy that we saw in Paris just a few hours ago. The eyes of the world are on Paris, a heinous terrorist attack. It goes at the very fabric of a free society. This was an attack on those who speak freely. It was an attack on the news media. It was an attack on freedom of expression. It was an attack on the values we hold dear and that you're preparing to defend. So it's a sober moment. It's a difficult moment, but it's also a moment to take stock of how important the work is that you are about to do. Our thoughts and our prayers are with the families of those who are lost today. At least 12 individuals killed, at least 2 of them police officers who are defending lives of people who are simply expressing their views in a free society. So we lost some heroes today. We lost some people who are trying to do good in this world against a terrorist threat that tries to undermine everything we hold dear. So you are preparing to start your work at a challenging and momentous time, at a time when we need good men and women like you to stand up for values of respect and inclusion of all people. Those values were assaulted today in Paris, but that will not stop all of us from continuing to fight for them. I'd like to ask everyone for a moment of silence for all those who were lost today in Paris. Thank you. Again, this is a reminder of how important the work is that you're about to do. We spoke a few days ago about the extraordinary achievements of the NYPD in 2014. And it was striking in the beginning of the presentation. Commissioner Bratton talked about, of course, the great work that was done, the extraordinary success in driving down crime. But he said something very important at the beginning. He says, we talk about the things that happened in 2014. One of the things that didn't happen was the kind of large-scale terrorist attack that we saw in Paris. And the reason it didn't happen here is because of the extraordinary work of the NYPD. This department, since 9/11, has continued to be so successful, so focused, so able at defeating the many, many threats directed at New York City. And remember, we are the #1 terror target in the United States of America, probably in the world, and we will be for a long time. But this police force has time and again uncovered plots and defended against them with tremendous success. We devote extraordinary resources to anti-terrorism work, and we work in close partnership with our federal partners and our state partners, and it's worked. And that work will continue. We will never stop being committed to defeating a terrorist threat that, again, is trying to undermine everything we believe in. It's an attempt at intimidation. It's an attempt to undermine our values and help us move away from that we hold dear. We won't let that happen. And the NYPD has a lot to be proud of. In the years since 9/11 and 2014 is another example of that. So you're joining at a momentous moment. You're joining when we need your talent, your commitment, your courage. And the fact that you made this decision speaks to who you are. It's not an easy decision to make. It's not a decision that a lot of people choose to make. It takes special people, strong people, committed people to decide to put on the uniform and protect others. You're joining what is unquestionably the world's finest police department. And there's so much evidence of it in the numbers and the history, but I also can tell you, I speak to leaders from around the country and around the world. And they constantly want to learn about the work of the NYPD. They want to meet the leaders of the NYPD. They want to learn about the strategies, the technology, all of the things that have worked here. Because the NYPD is seen as the example to the world of how to police properly. The people of this city are very proud of that fact. They're proud of how well the NYPD does its work, and they see with their own eyes how this city over 20+ years has continued to get safer and safer because of men and women just like you. And it makes a huge difference in the everyday lives of our people. In the last weeks, we have felt that so sharply as we've seen officers who were committed to everything right lost in the line of duty. It's reminded us of the sacrifice that officers make and their families make. But it's reminded us also of the courage of people who stand up for others. One thing that is absolutely true about this department, I haven't found anyone anywhere who disagrees with this, is you have an extraordinary leadership. It begins with Commissioner Bill Bratton, and I've said something about him that no one has ever sought to contradict. I said, he has done more to reduce crime. He knows more about how to reduce crime than anyone walking the earth today. It's an extraordinary record. And you join under his leadership and the leadership of this great team assembled on this dais around us. You join a department that has leadership that has so much to teach. For all of you who look forward to a long and successful career in policing, for all of you who look forward to one day taking the kind of roles that will lead you to sit on this stage, you have an opportunity to learn from the very best, literally the very best that have ever been. And that's something to cherish. I want to thank Commissioner Bratton. I want to thank First Deputy Commissioner Tucker, Chief of Department O'Neill, and all others assembled here on the stage for their extraordinary leadership. Again, our minds have been on Detective Ramos and Detective Liu and their families. We've all seen the sacrifice. We've all seen what those families have gone through. And we've learned about the goodness of those two men, how much they cared, not just for their families, not just for their community, but for the larger family of New York City, how much they loved being members of the NYPD. And even as we've continued to feel that sadness, we saw just a few days ago acts of extraordinary heroism and the kind of actions that say to every New Yorker, the NYPD does extraordinary things in the interest of protecting others. Officer Andrew Dosey and Officer Aliro Pellerano, coming off their shift, heard the call to duty, a robbery in progress, went back out, confronted the perps, and with their bravery, were able to lead to what is now the reality that these heinous individuals, these dangerous individuals have now been captured. People's lives were therefore saved in the process. These two officers wounded, thank God they will recover. but they disrupted a pattern of violence, as so many other brave officers have done, and the people of this city are safer for it. That is what we see every day among the 35,000 members of this department who serve us on our streets. You're signing up for a tough job. There is no question in the world it is one of the toughest jobs. You're signing up for it with a whole heart because you believe. And it is rewarding in a way I think very few other jobs can possibly be. Because at any given moment you may save a life, at any given moment you may change the course of a family's history because you were there. You saved a life, you kept someone from grievous injury, you stopped a crime in progress. That's what is ahead of you. I can't think of anything more rewarding or important, and the people of this city are grateful to you, and I am grateful to you for making this choice. A lot of you have a personal sense of what's ahead because you come from families that have a long tradition of serving this city through the police department. A lot of you have fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, wives, husbands, who have brothers and sisters who have been a part of this department. You know what it means, and you're making that decision to follow this great tradition. And that is something that is particularly appreciated because that tradition builds with each individual who joins it. 891 of you today, each of you has a powerful story to tell of why you made this decision, what motivated you, what caused that level of commitment. 44 of you have already served, with real distinction, served our country in the military. I want to thank you for that service and for now taking the next step in public service by joining the NYPD. You represent the whole breadth of this city. In fact, this class, within this class, people speak 40 different languages and hail from 49 different countries. You represent all that's good about New York City. And, as I referenced before, you're joining a team that is getting better and better. You are undoubtedly joining a winning team. We announced on Monday that overall major crime is down 4.6% in 2014 versus 2013, excuse me. You know, 2013 was an extraordinarily good year, extraordinarily impressive year in terms of achievements of the NYPD, and yet in 2014, crime was pushed down 4.6% more, a record year and the lowest homicide number since at least 1993, when the Comstat era began, an extraordinary achievement. It means so much to the people of this city that this department keeps pushing crime down. It means things for people's lives. People are walking the street and alive today because of the achievements of this department in 2014. Now, it is not an easy job. No one has that illusion. But it's a job that we work on every day trying to support and improve. This commissioner and this leadership team are incessantly looking at how to make this work better, how to make your work more effective, how to make you safer. That is why there have been extraordinary investments this year, the kinds of things that will make our officers safer. The technology to give you information instantly that you used to have to wait hours and hours to get so you know where danger is. So you're able to pinpoint any danger immediately and have all the facts. The training and support to be always better at tactics and to know how to best diffuse any situation. We have invested close to $400 million in these initiatives. We'll be investing more because you deserve it, and it's necessary to give you the support to do this vital work. You're joining at a crucial time in history, a time when we're going to keep driving crime down, we're going to keep stopping the terror threat, we're going to draw this community closer and closer to draw this police department closer and closer to the communities it serves, and in the process make everyone safer. In the process make everyone safer. It is the world's best police department, and it is getting even better. I want to welcome you. I want to thank you for making this decision, and I'd like everyone now to take the oath of office. Please repeat after me. I do hereby pledge and declare to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York and faithfully discharge the duties of police officer in the New York City Police Department to the best of my abilities. So help me God. Congratulations, and God bless you all.
Congratulations, officers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's now my pride and privilege to introduce the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, the Honorable William J. Bratton.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. You can do better than that. Come on, get it up there. Good morning, sir. Okay, you can expect to be asked that every morning in that volume. You have a number of your instructors that are around the room that will be encouraging you to speak loudly. On behalf of the leadership team on the stage here today, who are only part of the extraordinary leadership team I get to work with, the men and women who will work with you as you begin your careers, congratulations. Congratulations in being in the seats that you are in here today. Because for each of you who are here, there are another 12 who would have loved to have been here, who tried, but for a variety of reasons, could not meet the very high standards that are necessary to be met to become a member of the New York City Police Department. Today is a continuation of the process that many of you have been engaged in for several years, some of you for longer than that, a process in which you have aspired to be a police officer, but to be a police officer in the New York City Police Department. There are 3 iconic police departments in the Western world: Los Angeles Police Department, Metropolitan Police in London, and the New York City Police Department. They are the most storied police departments in our profession. They're the ones most written about, most often seen in TV and movie productions, and ones that are probably the most representative of the constantly increasing professionalism of our profession, now your profession, the honorable profession of law enforcement, of policing. But of the 3, there is none that is more famous, more well-known than the department that you have just taken an oath to now become a part of. In that oath, it talks about the duties and responsibilities of being a police officer. And what are they? Well, they begin with a very basic premise, a very basic philosophy. It was first enunciated by Sir Robert Peel, who, as the first head of the Metropolitan Police in London back in the 1800s, came up with 9 principles of policing, some of which you will hear frequently during your next 6 months in the academy. Those 9 principles are every bit as relevant, maybe even more relevant today than they were back then when he first wrote them and spoke them. And the first is quite simple. It is what the duties and responsibilities of you as an individual police officer and what we collectively, as members of the New York City Police Department, what the expectations are of ourselves and of the public. The basic mission for which the police exist is to prevent crime and disorder. To prevent crime and disorder. And how do we do that? When I was sworn in the first time as police commissioner in 1994, in my remarks after I took the same oath that you just took and received the badge of police commissioner, the very famous badge, in my comments, I talked about how I saw my mission, what my responsibilities were now going to be, leading the largest police department in America and one of the largest in the world. And it was a time of great crises in this city. Crime had been growing steadily for almost 20 some odd years. The conditions in the streets and the subways and the housing developments and the parks were deplorable. They were not safe. They were dangerous. We had a public that had lost faith in its police department, a public that had lost faith in its government, many who were seeking to leave the city if they could, others who could not because of their circumstances. But over the next 20 some odd years, the police department that you are now becoming a proud member of, this department and the city government changed the city. changed it from what was inarguably the most dangerous large city in America, if not the world, into something that we can with great pride and confidence say is the safest large city in this country, if not the world. And we, the police department that you are now joining, and I hope that in 6 months I will see every one of you in Madison Square Garden to become police officers on the streets of New York City, that police department, the predecessors that you are now joining, some of you, your fathers, your brothers, your mothers, who were on this department and were the inspiration for you to join, we took this city back, street by street, block by block, development by development, subway station by subway station. The basic mission for which the police exists is to prevent crime and disorder. And what that means for you is to go in harm's way. In my remarks 20 years ago, I echoed the words of John Paul Jones, a very famous naval admiral in the Revolutionary War. Give me a fast ship, for I intend to go in harm's way. Give me a fast ship, the New York City Police Department, as I intend to take that department in harm's way into those dangerous streets and developments and subway stations. And we went there. And we did what cops have done from the beginning of time. We put ourselves in harm's way so that the citizens of this city could be free from harm. Many lost their lives in that process, and we clearly have seen, just in recent weeks, 2 more of our officers, Ramus and Lou, who lost their lives. And just as recently as 2 nights ago, 2 of our officers, anti-crime units, shot in the performance of their duties, going in harm's way, doing what cops have always done and what will be expected of you. Those incidents of death and injury, in most people, would create a fear, would create a concern. But what it needs to do for you is serve as an inspiration, a reminder of the importance of what we are asking you to do, and the importance of what we will do in training you, in leading you, the leadership team here. Always understanding that in return for asking you to go in harm's way, we have an obligation to give you leadership that cares about you, to give the equipment to protect you, to give you the training to ensure that as you go into harm's way, that you have the skills to the best of our collective ability to protect you, to protect each other, and to protect the residents of this city. There is no more awesome responsibility asked of any citizen in this country than the one that you today took an oath to accept willingly. Our obligation over these next 6 months is to give you the skills necessary to go into those streets. But also, it doesn't end there after 6 months. We are making a phenomenal effort. The mayor is funding in so many ways those efforts to ensure that even after you come out of the academy, that you're going to have an experience very different than most officers have had over the last 20 some odd years in this city, even as they have gone forward to make the city safe. Our intention is to try to our best of our ability that when you graduate, to have you work with volunteer field training officers, officers who have been in harm's way, who are going to work with you to ensure that as you go there, that you have the additional skills necessary beyond what we can give you in these 6 months, so that you can benefit from their experiences of developing community relations, develop with their experiences on how to deal with disorder and crime in ways that you keep yourself safe, certainly, because if you are not safe, then nobody is. So the obligation we have placed on ourselves as leaders to train you to the best of our ability, to lead you in a way where we're always conscious of your safety. Going back to my remarks about a fast ship to go in harm's way, there's another expression when I went on an outward bound experience a number of years ago. And they gave us a little book of sayings and quotes. And there was one that's directly relevant to that going in harm's way. And it was an expression, something to the effect, a ship in safe harbor is not what a ship was built for. In other words, a ship sitting in a harbor is not what it was built for. Similarly, you as police officers, sitting in safe harbor, if you will, in your squad car, in your precinct, is not what you were trained for. It's not certainly what I think most of you, if not all of you, dream of when you come on to policing. It is the idea to be out there, to be working to the best of our individual and collective ability to go in harm's way, prepared to deal with all the dangers that we might face, but understanding that's what cops do. It's what we must do. It's what we have always done. And certainly in this department, in the 20-some-odd years I've been privileged to be exposed to it, in the almost 50 years I've been dreaming about becoming a part of it, going back to my childhood in the 1950s, a book that I talk about oftentimes, Your Police, the NYPD of the 1950s. And the idea for an 8 or 9-year-old kid to dream to be someday a part of that department, let alone to be its commissioner twice. Nobody is as lucky as I am to have now had that experience. And why am I lucky? Because I get to work with you. I get to work with the best cops in America, if not the best cops in the world. Cops who will go in harm's way, who are willing to go in harm's way. And what of our obligation to you? We take it seriously, very seriously. This year, as you come out of your academy in 6 months' time, you will be the best equipped police officers that this department has ever had. This will be the year of technology in this department, 2015. Huge investments in technology that will seek to make you safer, better informed, so that you can keep these communities even safer. The equipment that you have versus what young Billy Bratton had on October 7th, 1970, when I took a very similar oath, such as yours, to join the Boston Police Department. There were 155 of us in that class, in a city that was 20% African American and Latino. Out of that 155, there were 3 minorities. No women. First woman did not come into the Boston Police Department until 1978. Certainly in that era, 1970, no openly gay officers. First officer did not identify themselves as gay until 1987 in the Boston Police Department. Today, those of you who consider yourself gay proudly can do that in this department because we represent the city of New York in all of its manifestations. You're an extraordinary class also in the sense of how far the profession has come from my day. In 1970, high school education, or GED equivalent. In my day, they were going to train us for 3 months in the academy, 12 weeks. Within 6 weeks, I was in a blue uniform out on the streets of Boston. There was no emphasis on training. That happened in the 1970s, and you're the beneficiaries of that evolution of training, where you now get 6 months of the best training we can put together. But we're going to add on to that with that field training officer experience. So as you go out into the streets, you have partner officers who can show you the way. You will be equipped so differently than I was equipped, or many of the people on this stage when we began our careers. Chief Commissioner Tucker, Chief O'Neill, many of the others. I started with a 6-shot revolver, 6 spare rounds and loops on my belt, set of handcuffs, parking ticket book, a 12-inch club, and about 6 weeks of training. And I was out in the streets protecting the citizens of Boston. You will not have that experience, thank God for you. You'll have the best that we can give you. I'm going to ask you to do something now. I want all of you to stand up, please. I want you to shake the hand of the person to the left and right of you. Look them in the eye and say hello. Starting today, you're no longer responsible just for yourself. You're responsible for all of the partners, all of your squad, all of your platoon, all of the 50,000 members of this department, and we collectively are responsible for 8.5 million people in this city. 56 million tourists, another 3 million who come in every day to work and play here. When you go through these next 6 months, I want you to strive to be the best that you can be. And you're an extraordinary group already in terms of your educational levels. Looking at this list, 344 of you have bachelor's degrees already. Every one of you has an associate's degree. 20 of you have master's degrees, 4 of you have Juris Doctorates, and 1 a doctorate. That you are an extraordinarily talented, educated group of individuals who have shown that individually you can achieve great things. But in the New York City Police Department, you're joining a team, and you are dependent on the skills of each other. So it's so important that at the end of the 6 months that every one of you has the significant skills that we will give to you to help your partner in times of danger, in times of normalcy. So the idea of thinking of yourself not just as the individual, aspiring to be one of the 10% that I honor on the stage for academic achievement, or those for physical achievement or prowess with firearms. As you go through these next 6 months, work as a team. If somebody is having trouble, struggling, physically, academically, facilitation with firearm, work with them. If you're better than they are, mentor them, guide them, help them. Because as a police officer, you are no longer just responsible for yourself. You have a collective responsibility to work together. You have a collective responsibility working together to help all of the citizens of the city, this very diversified city. And if there's a class that can understand diversification, it's you. Because when you look at that person to your left and right, look at them in the eye, oftentimes they're a different color than you are, a different sex, and that's the world of policing. That you are dealing with a world that is constantly changing. We in New York City are the future of this country, if not the world. There's the old saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Well, you're going to make it in New York, and you're going to make it in a way that you can be proud of the fact that in this most diverse city in the world, that you are making it the right way. You're making it together with people who come from very diverse backgrounds, very different backgrounds. You're an extraordinary group. You look so different than the police class I joined in 1970 in that city. We've come a long way in 44 years, and I fully expect in years ahead working with you we'll go even further. You are the best, you are the brightest. We've made certain of that through our selection process. Now it's going to be up to you to prove it. Prove that we were right in giving you the opportunity to fulfill your dream, to fulfill the dreams in some instances of your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, who are also New York cops. Ultimately, it's up to you individually. But you can achieve those individual goals when you work more closely together, collaboratively, collectively. Please take your seats again. I look out on you and I am just filled with so much hope and envy. I've had 44 years in this business, and I noticed Ben over here nodding his head, that Ben began even before I did, that Commissioner Tucker. And boy, what we would give to be starting over in some respects, that we're at the pinnacle of achievement, but I'm so envious of you coming into policing at this time. An extraordinary time in the history of this city, an extraordinary time in the history of this country. Don't blow it. Don't blow this opportunity. Learn, achieve, have a life of significance, have a life that matters. Be honest, work with the highest degrees of integrity, resist the temptations that are out there. The most difficult times in my time as commissioner, when I have to make decisions to let somebody go from the department because of stupidity, because of dishonesty, because of corruption. Don't allow yourselves to fall into that trap, and that's where, once again, you're in this together. If you see somebody starting to go down the wrong path, stop them. We have an expression you're going to hear a lot of in the department, are you okay? The idea of looking at the partner, and if you see there's something going on that you might be able to help them, might be able to steer them in the right direction, ask them, are you okay? Can I help? Same thing that you're going to be doing with the public. Are you okay? Can I help? They need us. And when they call, you must come, even if it means danger, even if it means going to assignments that are not most desirable. They need us. Don't let them down. Congratulations.
And thank you, Commissioner Bratton. As the mayor and the police commissioner both mentioned, work hard, study hard in our new academy, and we hope to all see you in July at your graduation ceremony. Please rise. Deus, please rise. We'll exit to the left. Thank you very much.